not a miner either. So where would I fall?
Well, you can always hold both assets.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, so the way that I see this going, actually, so in 2017, this is like, I don't expect this at all to happen. But if it does happen, I do expect the BIP110 chain to win in the long term because the rules make it more valuable.
So you think there'll just be two chains?
Well, again, I expect BIP110 to succeed. This proof of work change thing is like it's like a, last resort, like nuclear, it's like, okay, the miners are majority hostile, right? The miners have decided to attack Bitcoin, basically. So we are firing them by bricking their hardware and requiring them to use other hardware. That's what a proof of work change does.
Are you saying that the current ASICs that would be used to mine Bitcoin that the miners are using would no longer be effective?
They would no longer be effective on the
core chain.
on the chain that I would consider the real Bitcoin.
Okay. Do you use this term, the core chain? I've been seeing this on Twitter. There's the core chain.
I guess the core chain, whatever. I don't like that. I don't like that because it sort of because core is like 70 or 80% of the network, and that's actually not an accurate. Like, I think most of the people running nodes are actually just not paying that much attention. If you look at the people who are updating actively, Knots is actually more popular than core. If you look at the nodes that have been updated in the last like a year and a half or something like that, Knots is more popular. Yeah. And I'm just what is it? I'm not guessing, but I'm making an educated guess that most Bitcoiners who are running core actually agree with us. The core part of Bitcoin culture is now represented by Knots. Most of those people are just not paying much attention, right? Here's how I see this happening, right? And this is why I think the soft fork is going to work. And I made a tweet about this. The soft fork is going to work because the hard fork would work. And the reason why the hard fork would work is because in 2017, there was actually a hard fork. So there were a bunch of people trying to make the blocks bigger. They wanted to hard fork to a larger block size. Actually, there were three groups. There was Core that wanted SegWit as a soft fork. There was SegWit 2x, which wanted SegWit and hard fork to twice as large blocks. And then there was a third group, which was the Bcachers. The Bcachers wanted to hard fork to a larger block size, and they did not want SegWit. So what ended up happening is they forked off at the same day that that BIP148 was going to activate, which is August 1st, 2017. And to very little fanfare. There was almost nobody noticed it. But then when the SegWit 2x thing failed, when those guys threw in the towel on that, all of them flooded into Bcache. And what you saw Bcache was a very tiny minority chain. It was like 0.1 Bitcoins or 0.01 Bitcoins. I don't know. It was a very small percentage of the, one Bcache was a very tiny percentage of one Bitcoin in terms of market price. And then after SegWit 2x failed, it went up to almost half. It was like 0.4 or something like that. And there was a moment where I was holding both, and I was like, well, which one is actually going to be the real Bitcoin? Which one is going to be which one should I sell,
Interesting.
And so, I don't think this is going to happen, again, because of what I'm talking about. But if it did happen, this would happen with BIP110 too, right? Where the BIP110ers would fire the miners with the proof of work change. And then the market would have to be like, which one should I sell?
And the market decides.
And the market would decide, yeah. And so the way that I read what happened with Bcache is they didn't have SegWit. And so they didn't have the quadratic hashing solution, and they were basically preventing themselves from ever building Lightning. They still haven't built Lightning. I keep telling them to build Lightning because I'm like, you might get some actual developers to come work on your stuff if you build it. But anyway, I was like, so basically Bitcoin is decentralized money, and Bcache is less decentralized and worse money, because Lightning does both. Lightning lets Bitcoin scale to a larger size while staying decentralized, and also while having a good UX for merchants, right? When you, I don't know if you've ever been to like a shop that takes Bitcoin, but back in the day we didn't have Lightning, and you had to wait for a confirmation. Terrible UX.
Oh.
Yeah. So you're sitting there with your food, and sometimes they'll bring you the food, and then you'll eat it, and then you'll be like, especially when the blocks filled up, it was horrible because people the wallets didn't understand how to pay like a good fee, you know? So you'd be sitting there and you're like, oh no, shit, this is gonna take like a week. How do I, and you just like, it was a terrible UX for both the customer and the merchant.
Yeah.
So anyway, so people don't realize like Lightning, the Bcashers didn't realize like Lightning exists to solve that problem.
Give you finality.
Give you immediate finality, exactly. This is why I like Arc. Arc also does the same thing. So, yes. So back to the crazy chaos that happened after SegWit 2x, everybody had to make the decision, which one should I dump and which one should I buy? Or should I just kind of wait and hold both of them, right? And the market ended up dumping Bcash, and Bitcoin was the one that ended up winning. And to me, it was obvious. It was like, okay, well, they decided to just shoot themselves in the foot by making their nodes harder to run, and making themselves worse money by committing to not ever building Lightning, right? So I was
But
like,
they have covenants.
yeah, sure. They're not doing anything with those. They're building a bunch of casinos. They're basically Ethereum 2.0. But anyway, so I was like, okay, so Bitcoin is going to be better, more decentralized and better money. So with BIP 110 makes Bitcoin more decentralized and better money, because what spam does is it discourages people from running nodes, and it causes actual payments to have to compete with these spam floods. And it makes Bitcoin worse money in other ways, and it causes centralization of the node network in other ways. There's actually really bad attacks that you can do with arbitrary data, which people don't like to talk about, but these vulnerabilities exist, and we should probably do something about them. Actually, this is a short-term attack that could happen on the legacy chain. There are some short-term attacks that could happen on the legacy chain that immediately take them out once BIP 110 activates. So we won't talk about those, but you might not want to be holding the legacy chain, is what I'm saying, after BIP 110 forks.
Well, thank you for explaining all this to me. I'm very interested to see what happens. I'm very much not invested in the conversation in either direction.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical, I'll say that, but I'll learn a lot, whatever happens. And if what happens is something that requires me to physically choose which software to run, then that will be a learning experience for me. So it'll be really interesting to see how this process plays out.